Hello. Uh, Good afternoon to you all. Um, I, I'm going to make a small presentation on smart education strategies for teaching and learning. My presentation will focus on the smart education collaborative project, the approach, uh, focus on case studies, and the framework for smart education. At the outset, I would like to thank the collaborative project uh, led by the UNESCO Institute for Information Technology in Education, Commonwealth of Learning, Beijing Normal University Smart Learning Institute, and many other institutions in Asia, Europe, and North America. This has been possible due to active support of the Smart Learning with Beijing National University. And I would also like to thank the Smart Learning colleagues from BNU to have invited me to make this presentation. This presentation is based on a report on project two of a bigger project on smart education. The, the objective of the project two of the smart education project is to provide a platform for global conversation um, about responsible, equitable, social, humanistic, safe, and ethical smart education policies and strategies. Identify the most salient smart education themes for public policy, situate the policy themes within the context of national, regional, and global context, highlight the tensions and contradictions within each of the themes, especially to help countries develop appropriate policies for smart education, and also consider policy implementation mechanisms to support the practice and enactment of policy feedback based on evidence-based research, monitoring, and evaluation. What we have done is to focus on the topic of digital education, smart education, based on available documentary information. So we did a review of literature. We analyzed the policies and strategies in 10 countries and focused on implementation case studies in China, Egypt, India, Mauritius, Russia, Singapore, South Africa, South Korea, United Kingdom, and United States of America. We analyzed several databases and we filtered 145 research papers on smart education and analyzed those critically to develop a conceptual framework which was then developed into the smart education policy and strategy framework. The conceptual framework is situated within the socio-cultural context of the 10 countries that we analyzed, and our focus was to distill unique policy design, policy implementation, and continuous learning issues that can be widely replicated and used by other countries in the world. These 10 countries, lessons, examples from these 10 countries form the basis of developing the framework for this smart education project. For us, how do we define smart education? For us, smart education is about 5 E's: enjoyable, engaging, efficient, effective, and ethical. Enjoyable, leading to the retention and transfer of knowledge to long-term memory. Engaging, with innovative application of technologies. Efficient, in terms of just-in-time learning and availability of right resources such as open educational resources. Effective, in leading the learning from to earning livelihood and development of responsible citizenship. And last but not the least, ethical, to address issues of privacy, cybersecurity, and equity issues in education. The smart education policy framework that, based on the literature review and policy analysis, came out have 6 policy themes and 3 key implementation mechanisms. I'll highlight the 6 policy themes today in this presentation. The smart education policy implementations that we also, when we reviewed, we find these at different 5 different levels of implementation. One is the ministerial level task force countries constitute. Second, dedicated smart education policies in some countries. National transversal level policy, which covers different ministries and sectors. Then geopolitical or regional level policy frameworks, and of course the global level policy frameworks on AI in education and others, which is essentially released from UN agencies, especially the UNESCO. In all these things that on smart education, context matters, and how these policies were situated. Most of the time, the policies in those 10 countries were situated based on the human capital development, issues of learning loss, and systemic inequalities of access to education. In the recent years, COVID-19 challenges also emerged, and most importantly, the emerging technological trends, attack as a global market, and of course, issues related to cybersecurity and ethical challenges. Within all these issues, countries have tried to situate smart education uh, policy and strategy frameworks. And these are very useful for other countries to follow as well. So let me focus on the six policy themes. Policy theme one is infrastructure. The policy themes infrastructure focused on sustainable energy and power for education institutions, providing affordable low-cost connectivity, providing home internet access for staff, teachers, and students, uh, providing sustainable access to connected devices, um, providing access to uh, zero-rated platforms, um, smart classroom, smart campuses. How do you provide technological support, upgrades, maintenance, issues of carbon emission management, e-waste, and of course, responsible, safe use of digital infrastructure for support student learning. Policy theme two is about curriculum and pedagogy. And here the issues that were discussed were about shift towards competency-based curricula, skill-based issues become more important, the impact of COVID-19, issues related to datafication of teaching and learning practices, lifelong learning implications, and the impact of artificial intelligence in teaching and learning. Policy theme 3 is about digital education resources. Here, access to online digital resources have become more important. We focus this as open educational resources and practices. The use of learning management systems and digital platforms for education, and how educational systems are more and more dependent on these platforms and resources for teaching and learning in the post-COVID scenario becomes the policy theme 3. Policy theme 4 is on skills and competences in the fourth industrial revolution, which includes digital education skills, teacher capacities and competencies, preparing students for the future, the unknown future, focus on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, especially for girls' children. And within the context of skills and competencies, the recognition of micro credentials for qualification, certification, and employment. Policy theme 5 is about governance of the smart education systems, processes, and practices. Includes providing cyber security, commitment from the governments, commitment for personal data protection, issues related to funding models, and how to sustain educational smart education projects in long term, and of course use of blockchain technologies for management of ledger records, and of course technological systems, credentials, and so on. Policy theme 6 is about administration and management, which includes issues related to the educational information management system, um, and management of big data, quality assurance, planning and implementation, and of course digitalization of the whole teaching and learning process, including administration and management. So our research has led into not only we articulated the uh, framework for best practices in smart education by identifying the 6 policy themes, but our research work has led into development of a template for smart education policy development and questions um, and and an analytical rubric for monitoring and evaluation of smart education implementation, which countries can uh, apply to analyze their policy development process to implementation and make comparative benchmark with other countries and see where their own smart education policy implementation is in place. So this work that I am presenting right now, um, we have compiled the work into a publication which will soon be released by UNESCO Institute for Information Technology in Education, Commonwealth of Learning, and Beijing Normal University Smart Learning Institute. I request you to look forward to that publication when it is released and apply the framework in your own context. Thank you very much.